You were fine 10 minutes ago. You were talking to your friend, scrolling your phone, wide awake. Then you sat down, someone started talking, and now your eyes feel like they weigh 10 pounds each. You're not bored exactly. You're not even that tired, as far as you know. But your body has quietly decided that this is the moment to shut down. Not during the boring car ride, not during the walk to class, right now while someone is talking directly at you. That's strange if you think about it. So let's actually think about it. Here's the part that makes it confusing. If you were actually exhausted, you'd expect to feel sleepy everywhere. In the hallway, at lunch, on the walk home. But for a lot of people, it's specific. It shows up in the exact moment someone starts explaining something. So the question isn't just why am I tired? It's why does this one situation seem to trigger it so fast? And the answer isn't one thing. It's a few things that happen to be waiting in the background, and the class just happens to be where they finally show themselves. Here's the first piece. Your body has something researchers call sleep pressure. Basically, every hour you're awake, your need for sleep quietly builds, like a gauge slowly filling up in the background, whether you notice it or not. If you went to bed late and got up early, that gauge is already sitting pretty high by mid-morning. You just don't feel it yet, because you're moving, talking, doing things that keep your attention busy. So here's the uncomfortable part. The class isn't creating that sleepiness. It was already there, sitting quietly underneath everything you did that morning. The class is just the first moment all day where nothing is distracting you from it. Second piece. Even if you slept fine, you're not equally alert all day. Your body runs on an internal clock that shifts your alertness up and down depending on the hour, separate from how tired you actually are. There's a well-known dip a lot of people feel in the early afternoon. And no, it's not really because you ate lunch. That's the easy explanation, but it's not the accurate one. The dip has more to do with your internal clock than your stomach. Eating a heavy meal can add to it, but it's not the root cause. So sometimes the honest answer isn't this class is boring. It's my body picked this exact hour to lower my alertness, and it would have done that whether I was in this room or not. Here's where it gets interesting. Because a lecture isn't a neutral place to be sleepy in. It's actually a pretty good environment for sleepiness to win. Think about what you're doing during most conversations. You're listening, reacting, predicting what the other person's about to say, jumping in, responding. Your brain is working the whole time. A lecture is different. Information mostly moves in one direction, into you. You're not really required to do much back. At the same time, you're sitting still, not moving much, not making a lot of small decisions. Your body isn't getting much physical input either. Take away movement, take away back and forth interaction, and you've removed a lot of the things that were quietly keeping you alert without you realizing it. Your brain didn't shut off. It just lost most of what it usually leans on to stay switched on. Now here's a piece that might surprise you. Sleepiness and zoning out aren't actually the same thing. You can be technically awake, eyes open, and still be completely gone. Thinking about dinner, replaying a text conversation, planning your weekend. That's called mind wandering, and it tends to increase the longer a lecture goes on. It's not the same as your body physically shutting down. It's your attention quietly stepping out of the room before the rest of you does. A lot of people assume, I wasn't sleepy, I just zoned out, like that's a completely different problem. It's not unrelated. Often it's the earliest stage of the same story. Attention drifts first. Actual heaviness in your eyes evolve. None of these four things, on their own, would necessarily knock you out. But watch what happens when they land at the same time. You didn't sleep great, so your sleep pressure is already elevated. It happens to be an hour where your internal clock isn't favoring alertness. You're sitting still, in one position for a long stretch, and you're mostly just listening, without much required back and forth. Each one of those is manageable by itself. All four, stacked at the same time, in the same room? That's not bad luck. That's just what a lecture naturally looks like for a lot of people, on a lot of days. So here's the actual answer. The one underneath the obvious one. The class doesn't make you sleepy. It's not doing anything to you. What it does is remove almost everything that was keeping your existing sleepiness in check. The movement, the interaction, the stimulation, all the small things you didn't know were holding the line. Once those are gone, the sleep pressure and the low alertness window that were already sitting in your system finally get a clear shot. You're not falling asleep because of the lecture. You're falling asleep in the lecture, because it's the first quiet moment all day where nothing was left to fight it off. This isn't a fix everything list. It's smaller than that, but it's honest. Sleep comes first, not as a throwaway line, as the actual root of it. If you're regularly undersleeping, no amount of sitting up straight is going to out-argue biology. Make listening a little less passive. Ask a question in your head. Try to guess what's coming next. Jot down one line in your own words instead of just receiving information. Give your brain something to do, not just something to absorb. Break up the stillness where you can. Shift your position. Stand for a second if it's allowed. Small movement seems to help more than people expect. And notice your own timing. If you always crash around the same hour, that's worth paying attention to. It might be less about the subject and more about your schedule. None of this rewrites your biology in one video, but it does mean you're working with your brain instead of quietly blaming it. If you only remember one thing, sleep pressure, your body clock, and a room that's quietly removed everything that was keeping you alert. That's the equation. Most of the time, that's the whole story. One honest note before we close. Getting sleepy in a long, low-stimulation class every once in a while is normal. It happens to almost everyone. But if you're getting enough sleep, and you're still fighting to stay awake constantly, not just in lectures, but in meetings, in conversations, while driving, again and again, that's a different pattern. That's worth mentioning to a doctor, not diagnosing yourself over a video. There's a difference between this room made it obvious, and this happens no matter what room I'm in. Only you really know which one you're living. So the next time you're sitting there, fighting to keep your eyes open, and the voice in your head says, "What is wrong with me?" Maybe pause on that thought for a second. Nothing's wrong with you. Your brain didn't get lazy. It didn't stop caring about learning. It's just responding honestly to a body that was already tired, a clock that was already dipping, and a room that stopped giving it reasons to stay switched on. You're not broken. You're just finally sitting still long enough to notice what was already there.